Baby Caterpillar. Baby Caterpillar was tired. All summer long she had been traveling slowly through the green world where she lived, and feeding on the green leaves that grew near her home. Now autumn had come and Mother Nature had given a holiday to the leaves, who put on their new dress of red and gold and play tag with the breeze. Baby Caterpillar wanted to play too, but could not run so fast as the happy little leaves, and she grew very tired, and thought she would take a nap. So she found a cozy place among the branches of a grapevine, and made herself a soft, silky blanket. Then she rolled herself away within it, and then in her queer little cradle went to sleep. One night, late in the fall, Jack Frost came over the hill. He spit the cradle swinging to and fro, and began to play roughly with it, for he is a roguish little fellow, and touch everything that comes in his way. But the warm blanket hid the little slipper so that Jack could not find her. By and by King Winter came, bringing beautiful snow blankets to Mother Nature's flower baby. He gently rocked the cradle as he passed and whispered, "Sleep, baby, sleep. You have no need of my blankets." At last spring came with the sunbeams, the best and merriest of Mother Nature's helpers. They awoke the flowers from their long winter nap, and called to the birds and the brooks to begin their songs. When they come to the little brown cradle, they stopped to rest, and baby Caterpillar began to get very warm under the thick blanket. She woke up and stretched herself, and her cradle broke, and she came out to greet the spring. But what a change! Instead of the old dingy dress that she went to sleep in, she now had a beautiful yellow one, and instead of crawling among the leaves, she flew up and away into the sweet spring air to play with the sunbeams and flowers, and the little children called her a butterfly. Meg and thought, so Meg, you are talking about being in the military, and you said you were a medic. Can you explain what that is? Yeah, so a medic, which now I believe is called healthcare specialist, is I always say it's kind of similar to being like a paramedic, where it's not a full nurse job. I think nurses have more training like in civilian seat nurse, but similar to paramedic where you have certain, like minor procedure that you are trained to do and high level things, than just an EMT like doing ifs and giving shots and stitch and things like that. And your training, because it's the military, you're especially trained for emergency situation and how to treat someone who has maybe some serious life-threatening wounds. So that's a medic. Wow, that sounds like a really difficult job. I mean, it's not your typical just soldier job. You must have had a lot of schooling and education. Like I had, well, everyone goes through the initial about 2.5 months, like basic training, and that's more kind of basic combat skills and physical training, that kind of thing. And then I had 4 months past that to train to be a medic. So went through like emergency medical technician course, just like civilian side. I got certificate with that, and then we had additional training for the military skill like avis and emergency procedure, that kind of thing. So, right? Can you explain what if is? Fluids into your body. So if you've been injured and you've lost a lot of blood, or maybe you are dehydrated and you need some fluid in your body quickly, then we stick a needle into your vein, and then fluids go in and the needle comes back out, but a little tube stay in, and then you can get fluids quickly that way. So anybody that's been to the doctor knows that's always kind of the anxious moment when the nurse or the person who's going to stick the needle in. Were you good at doing that? But So once I learned how to do it, I think I was pretty good, and I actually enjoy doing it, not in a creepy way, but it was, I guess, because I was decent at it, that it was a part of my job that I enjoy. But for myself, before we went through that training, I actually became dehydrated and needed to get in and if myself, and I was terrified because I really hadn't had that before in my life. And so the nurse was going to come, put the needle in my arm, and I was like, no, isn't there another? I'll just drink a lot of water. And she was saying, aren't you going to be a medic? And I was like, oh, I haven't trained yet, don't do it. So yeah, thought, oh, that's cool. Yeah, I was recently in the hospital and they had me strapped up for both blood and for the water. The intravenous drip, and it's annoying because you cannot really move. Like if you want to get up and walk anywhere, you're strapped with all these tubes, and it's not very convenient. Like yeah, or at least you have to careful. When I was getting the IV, I didn't know that the needle doesn't stay in your arm. Now, for some things it does. For blood, maybe it's different. I'm not sure. But yeah, so I was trying to be so careful too, but you still want it to go well, so you don't want to move very much. Thought, right. So what percentage of people would you say freak out when they get the needle? Meg, probably 90% or 95%. Thought, oh really? Yeah, even top army guys would come in and they'd be like, oh I'm fine in a bit. Well, we need to give you an IV, and they'd be like, oh, thought, right, yeah, nobody likes that. Make no thought. So you transitioned, you were in the medical profession and then you moved to education. Why did you leave the medical profession for education, Mac? Yeah, that's interesting because I become a medic in the military because I took after. I, when I could continue college, that I would be a nurse or a doctor. But my time serving as a medic helped me learn that that was not what I wanted to do for my career after all. So I definitely am glad that I had those skills and the things that I learned it and was able to experience. But I had English had kind of been on the back burner. And so then I said, okay, let me revisit this, and it led to English education. Thought, wow, have you ever thought about being like an English specialist for people in the medical fields, like teaching doctors and nurses? I guess I haven't talked about that specifically. Sometimes I talk about going back to military. They do have something like English schools in the military, and so I guess that would be related. Also, it could be, yeah, so that will be interesting. Something to think about. Part 3. Answer the question correctly through the audio. 1. What kind of home would he want to have? Answer. Mark usually doesn't dream like a nice medium to large size house. The most important thing for Mark is to own the land with the house. 2. What would he like to live near? Answer. Have a large yard and landscape plan. 3. What do they talk about? Answer. Mark's dream house. 4. What does he want in his ideal house? Answer. Owns a house with a large bedroom, a large kitchen, and a large yard, as well as 2-car garage, and Mark wants to have a room to himself and a small library. 5. Retell that conversation with your own words, giving the detailed information. Answer. A conversation between Todd and Mark that discussed Mark's dream house, and Mark explained that if he didn't have a dream of a big and luxurious house. He just wants to have a house with a large yard and most importantly one room for himself.